Boom. We're late. We're late one day, but we're all here. See, we're all here, but we're late. And we wouldn't have been all here if we'd been on time. So for you guys, we pushed it back a day. That's why. I'm sticking with that's the reason. So crazy fun week. Fun is definitely however you want to flavor the chicken. But crazy fun week, for sure. So we had elections. We have SCOTUS deciding what cases they're going to hear. And in January, we have SCOTUS actually making some oddball decisions. We have the longest shutdown, and right, we're past the longest, so we're the longest
Yep.
shutdown in government history. We have the FAA reducing air traffic for the first time in history for this type of situation. We have some more pardons. We have a fight over feeding poor people. We have we have all kinds of fun stuff. We also have Russian oil and Victor Obrin and shit. So we can start with the smaller or the bigger. We're going to go with the bigger. So we're going to go with the
Do the
election.
bigger.
We're going
Yeah.
to go with the election. So we had elections Tuesday. We didn't have anything locally here, so we didn't vote on Tuesday.
We had a
So
tax referendum here
Yeah,
that
you
and
didn't
did.
it's
pass.
Yeah,
So
well, because getting the whole city to pay for one part of the city school system probably isn't going to pass. So I could see why that did. However, I also think it was really poorly marketed
yeah.
because I'm pretty attached to hometown news still, even though I don't live there anymore. And didn't I knew about it when they were trying to get the referendum on the ballot, but then didn't really hear anything about it until literally the day of the election. So that's not going to help you get voters to the booth, right? However, being Donald Trump will help getting Democrat voters to the booth. That is, we have seen Democratic turnout numbers much more like 2020 Biden victory than any other time before. We have seen overwhelming shellacking of Republican candidates everywhere.
Everywhere.
Anything that had a vote but one. There was one thing in the whole country where the Republican, what they would want, actually went through, and that
Yeah.
was Texas. Who were it was a redundancy in Texas, where Texas saying you have to be a citizen to vote, even though the Constitution says you have to be a citizen to vote. So, but okay, cool, whatever, you got it, good job, because nobody thinks that people who aren't citizens shouldn't vote.
Right.
Imagine that. So, but I think some of the big ones that I like to put out there that are lesser known, and we'll talk about the big ones that are more known that are pretty awesome. So there was a public service commission, two seats in Georgia, which is a statewide electorate race. Were up for grabs. These are the people who like decide, like if the utility companies can raise their rates, what you can charge for water, like so. Public Service Commission. So both Democratic candidates won by 32 and 37 points, respectively. I'm pretty sure. Um, the one seat hasn't had an election in a really long time. The last person got appointed to it, which is what actually caused this election to happen because then they were sued for appointing and not holding an election. And the judge said, you do, in fact, have to hold an election for this.
yeah.
But the last time that seat was won, it was won by a Republican plus 30. The other seat was won by a Republican in 2018, no, 2022. 2022 plus 32. So he was unseated by a Democrat in the plus 34. So it's a 66 point swing in Democratic favor. The other one was a 60 some odd point swing in
Yeah.
Democratic favor. A Democrat hasn't won that election in Georgia since 2000.
Yep.
Wow.
So it's been a quarter century since a Democrat
Oh
won that
God.
election.
And now we
in
all feel
Georgia, and they
Nerd.
won two of them. They won two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won two of them. So I think that was really big. And then the other really, really, really not unknown or unknown one that I think is super cool, Mississippi State Legislature. For the first time in 170 years, no longer has a Republican supermajority.
Mm,
Enough Democrats won seats that they can block in Mississippi
wow.
now. That is never have never. They've been a supermajority since they've been a state.
well,
Yeah.
I think that's just a fallout of
It's
so they're a very poor state. I actually have one of my loan officers is down in Corinth, Mississippi, which is like right on the corner of part of Tennessee and Mississippi and Missouri or something like that, I want to say. Anyway, so her average loan amount, and it's mostly manufactured homes there in that city, is like 50K. It's just a very poor town, high DTIs, poor credit scores, lots of people on SNAP benefits, much like the rest of that state.
Yeah.
It's always them, Louisiana, those little southern states, Alabama, are always poor. They have like the top five poorest counties in the country. I think that's a fallout of they voted for him and his policies and procedures are now hurting them that much to where they are even saying, you're trying to not feed my children. We're not going to have you in office.
Yeah.
so I think the elections overwhelmingly were which they're trying to spin it quick.
Of
Um,
course.
they're trying to spin it. So the reason I brought those two up is the right wing bobblehead spin at this point is, well, Democrats are going to win elections in Democratic states.
But
So
by
that
double digits everywhere,
Well,
not.
so I just brought up the two non-democratic states
Right,
where
right.
Yeah.
Democrats absolutely won elections. But yes, I think. But the other thing I noticed, even in the Democratic states, that we have a Democratic governor, female governor of New Jersey, a female Democratic governor of Virginia, which is the
Mhm.
first
For the
female
first
governor of
time ever.
Virginia. The other part of that is the lieutenant governor is a Muslim woman, an
Yep.
Arab
Mhm.
woman. So that's the first time that's ever happened. We obviously, everyone and their mother has heard that a a Muslim Democratic Socialist won the mayor of New York City,
Hey,
and not by a little bit. But we'll save that one because we're going to get in depth on that one. And then in Pennsylvania, one of the big pushes after the general was from Scott Pressler, who is probably actually one of the very few. I don't hate him MAGA people. He's very get out the vote, goes to events and registers people to vote. Like he's a really good Republican operative who takes his job very seriously and is very proud of it. So I got to give hats off to him. I've always felt that way about him. He was actually late to the MAGA swing. He was very Republican in the beginning. So he and they pushed really hard for the three Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices who were democratically appointed to be removed, recalled, basically. So they can recall their Supreme Court in Pennsylvania. It's a
Mhm.
byproduct of a commonwealth.
Yep, yep.
So they can recall. So they got it on the ballot. 70, 70, 70. Keep. 70-30, not close. So that was huge. Every single red county involved in any election, including Texas, where it passed, lower margins by almost double digits than voted for Trump. So I think there's an overwhelming look that people are like, yeah, no, this ain't it.
Right.
So now they are vehemently terrified of the midterms.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
as
yeah.
they should be, because it could be a 24 to 30 seat swing. Now
Yep.
that California did Prop 50,
Yeah, hell
Yep.
yeah.
they are taking it away from the independent commission,
Yep.
and they're gonna there's a map where there's no Republican seats left.
Yep. Yep.
which would be +9
Yep.
to Democrats. They're not going to go with that one. They're going to go with the one that leaves 4 Republican seats. So it's a +5
Yeah.
to Democrats, which completely overwon because Texas only got 4.
Right.
So now what I would like to know from Texas is where's Jasmine Crockett going to move to so she can stay in because they eliminated her ability to win her seat. Or with this election, I don't know, maybe you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does a really good job of being out in her community and everything, so she might still pull that
It's
out.
interesting. It's interesting the way they redistrict, and so, but a big night, really exciting night. I'm a political junkie, so there's people very late to the party, like, oh, we had election. I'm like, dude, I've been waiting for this for months.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know because I know it's going to be, I want to see the bellwethers. And it was so like, you don't normally get John King on CNN, which, by the way, if anyone you think what you want about CNN or not, John King is the best map man in elections that exists on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knows shit about Whoop Whoop County and Chickasaw Falls, Iowa.
Yeah.
Like he knows the demographic of it and how it normally votes for the last 30 years. This man is educated on the voting habits of the entire country by county. So watching him on election, so you get John King in an off-cycle election night. That's how important it was. But we will get into Zohan. I can still fuck his name up, dude. Mandamni. So
Turn the
really,
volume up.
Zoran Mamdani.
yeah, Mamdani, whatever, dude, you're it. Do it. So here's my This is a very interesting thing. So he can't fuck this up.
No.
He can't fuck. So this is the litmus test. If you can make anything. So if you do get free transportation, or you reduce healthcare, or you do subsidized grocery stores, or whichever thing you actually go do, which he's walked away from the subsidized grocery stores a little bit. But anything that you do, if you get it and it is successful, that is why they're so scared of you. Because
Yep.
if you have proof of concept in New York City, which is the financial center of Earth.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but also has a large population, which is one of the reasons why Republicans say, "Oh, we can't have single payer system because of how many people we have." So if he can make that proof of concept work in a centralized urban area, then yeah, that's even more potent.
No, absolutely right. So this is all proof on the flip side of the coin. If it fails, democratic socialism is dead forever. So they will never win again. So not for another 20 years. It'll reset it so long because they give it a shot. I'm interesting. He released his transition team. I find this really interesting too. All women.
Yeah.
Super. Like this is dude. Now, what I will say is I listened to a lot of his stump over the campaign, and then I listened to his victory speech. His victory speech worried me a little bit. And Van Jones agrees with me. So he was very like his stumps and like showing up in the club and doing New York, and showing up on the taxi line at the midnight shift and talking to the drivers. He was a very like warm, open, embracing, like genuine, right? And his speech was very politics and cold and icy, and but the two lines, you said the one, "Hey Donald, I know you're watching," was during the value. So that was one. And two, we toppled a political dynasty.
Yeah.
So, and they did. So for a Muslim socialist to be the mayor of New York City, I'd have lost every penny. If you told me to put my money on that chip even 5 years ago, I would have lost every penny. There's no way that New York City is going to elect a Muslim.
Yeah.
So, but behind him hardcore though, that helps there.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw her the other day while I was awake. So um and she they were asking her, I don't know if they're scared, why they're scared of, you know, the new mayor. And she's like, I don't want to speculate, but I can tell you that they're definitely afraid of me. And she's so right, bro.
Oh
They're
yeah.
so scared of her. Like instantly when he won, because I spent the night on Twitter, right? So I'm over
Mhm.
here like, hell yeah, we got some W's tonight. And I'm like, yeah, you got cooked, you got wrecked, you got cooked, right? But literally the Fox News bobbleheads and a couple other are like, oh, the Democratic Party's AOC's party now. I told you this was coming, blah 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 blah, so on and so forth. And um, it sounds like she is going to run for Senate. That seems to be a foregone conclusion at this point. And I think after this victory, she absolutely just got the green light to run for Senate next year because
Yep.
she's going to whoop Schumer's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they're not happy with that sect of the Democratic Party, isn't happy with
They
Schumer.
well,
They're
and
happy
and
with
with and
Jeffries, but they're
Pelosi's
not
on the
so
way
happy.
out there. Like
She
She's
retired.
retiring.
the
Yeah.
yeah,
On
the
her term,
Democratic Party is set for
a
a
changeover for
yeah.
younger. Yeah.
Well,
So
so the under 28 female vote was like 80% um Tuesday night for Democrats, and huge upturn. So a lot of them I think abstained or went third party in 24, which is how we got here.
yeah.
And cool, all can be forgiven now. Go do shouldn't have happened. Try to warn them against it. Now they're like, oh fuck, well, I don't know how you didn't know how this was gonna go.
Right.
So I think two things though. I think we've nailed the economy part, right? This is overwhelmingly resounding that the people don't like what you've done to the economy or that you've done nothing to the economy.
Yeah, so there was actually an exit poll of specifically independents and an overall of why they voted, if they voted for a Democrat, why. And it was the independents, it was like 70-30, the economy,
Yep.
cost of living, which is what the Democrat candidates hammered home for these specials was living costs.
Yeah.
Well, they want to be able to own a house and feed their family at the same time. And they
Right.
have good jobs where they're making 85, 90,000 a year and they should be able to own homes and they can't.
Right.
Right.
Like I have a good job, but I live where I live. If I had same job, same pay somewhere else, I wouldn't be in the home.
Right.
So like I'm not owning a home in New York City
Right.
No.
or
Yeah.
or Chicago or
Right.
LA or Miami or
Yeah, where
Dallas
you're
or
paying $1,800 for a studio.
Yeah.
right. So it's simply not happening. So I definitely think the economy was resounding, right, in lots of ways, especially with independents. I think independent males definitely went that way. That's about
Hmm.
the only male category we won. So we do have some issues there.
The black male
Um,
came back home too, compared
well,
to the
because
previous.
he started arresting black males.
Yeah, and surprisingly, the Hispanic vote came back home
Oh my
also.
goodness!
Yeah,
Imagine.
shocker.
So, but that's the other kicker, right? So the other kicker, I think that people are not all people, but people are wanting to overlook is I also think this was a resounding statement that people are not okay with what ICE is doing.
Right.
Like this is not even the people who were kind of like, I don't care are like, yeah, not this. Like you
Yeah.
were talking about gangsters and drug dealers and rapists, not Gloria walking to clean a house.
Yeah.
Like that's not who you were talking about. Or you
Or
walked
raiding the
into a
daycare.
well, yeah, you walked into the daycare and took the teacher. These are not the people you were talking about. The
Yeah,
the superintendent in Iowa of the school system, the cop.
Yeah.
And like
the
these
pregnant
are
lady in Chicago. Like,
right, like these are not the people that you said you were gonna go at.
yeah,
So, but it's because Pee Wee German's in charge.
yes.
So it's Pee Wee German's little Gestapo hit crop. They're also in deep shit in Chicago for shooting that dude in the back. That's
Oh
not
yeah.
going to go well.
Yeah.
Um, So we talked about how he's already got to go see the judge 6 o'clock every
6 o'clock.
day. Talk about
They
it.
there I also saw something. I think I pulled the article. There's a huge like a judge said that like they've got to turn down the volume on their um geez oh peach, not their HOA, their rules of engagement, their ROE, like their willingness to to go violent needs to be turned way down. Where was that?
Yeah, I think that it does need to be turned way down, but I also think that it's not necessarily turned up by design. I think it's turned up by lack of training. I think it's turned up by an unqualified to hold position. So
I think
there's
there's a mix of that. So lack of training. You have guys that have never had to make the decision behind the trigger, and then on top of that you have the rhetoric is pretty hard too. Um,
yeah,
so so they're being amped up and told to go out and get them, and so that
yeah, with
can
like
lead.
hype videos on TikTok.
Yeah.
They're really
So
driven by that 50K bonus.
so
Well, I
the
mean, if
teachers,
it
but
if it's tied to performance, like
Right.
I need to get I need to catch me 12 more brown people before I get my bonus. That's
yeah,
that can
that could be super true.
make the trigger itchy.
So definitely interesting. But yeah, let's jump back to the affordability part. So I think that today's um you shared earlier that Fannie is dropping the credit score requirement to underwrite a loan.
Yeah,
Which it was already, so let's for the record, it was at 620, which is not good credit.
yeah, that's low.
Like that's a low credit score, right? Now, so now it can be 540 or 480. Or I didn't read the whole article. I kind of glanced through it when you
Hmm.
shared it. But I think that's in direct result of the election Tuesday. That we need to get people to be able to buy houses, or we're not going to win the midterms.
That
So
all that's
I know they're not completely or supposed to be under the federal government's control, but this is Trump's universe.
yeah, yeah.
That screams 2008 all over again when they did unverifiable mortgages where you didn't have to verify assets or income, where let's say someone with, they're a shift lead making 35K at McDonald's or whatever, and they don't have to verify anything. They go buy a house in Carmel or Fishers, something like that, or a house like you just got making
No,
half.
bro. What I'm reading is I should have waited 6 months and I could have got that
Well,
$3 million place down the street.
All right.
yeah, and then you belly up on it because you actually can't afford it. And then,
No.
yeah, we have 2008, 2009 all over again is what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's a lot of chatter. Even Jamie Dimon was on the other day, and he's been kind of pro-Trump for a minute. Not necessarily pro-Trump, but pro-Trump economic policy. He's the CEO of Chase.
Yeah.
So he's even like, nah, we're fucked. So I already, informed my closest people. If you have an elder that's still working, that's close to retirement age, you need to make sure that they move all of their money immediately to bonds. You need to 100% bonds, 100% bonds. So, or freeze it.
Or
And
gold.
yeah, it's not a lot of 401ks give you that option. Some do. You have to, if you're with some bougie plans, you can put it in a gold plan, right? But I just 100% bonds. So because if you're going to retire in the next 5 years, 100% bonds.
Yeah.
So because this motherfucker's about to come down.
Mm-hmm.
Now me, I'm just going to sit and wait for it to come down, and then when it comes crashing down and hits the bottom,
Follow.
I'm going to increase my contribution to 10%
Yep.
and buy as much as I fucking can because I'm still 30 plus years away from retirement. Well,
Yep.
30. 30. I'm not working much past then. I might be a Walmart greeter though. So hey, welcome to Walmart. We got I'll tell them where the juice aisle is if you
I'm
know,
trying
you
to do
know.
18, retire at 62. That first year you
Yeah.
can get Social Security.
You
Shit.
better hope that that
Guilty by
magazine
They've been
ad
saying that
works
for
out.
40 years.
You know, hope that magazine ad you put up works. Retire at 62. So, okay. So another thing revisiting last week or 2 weeks ago, I think actually you weren't the one you weren't here. We talked about the meat industry, and no, that was last week. We talked about Tommy Lerone actually understanding the meat packer industry.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So he has officially now come out. So her little rah rah got a little popular and it picked up some steam on some other bobbleheads and they started rah rahing about it. So he did officially come out and say that he had publicly accused foreign owned meatpacking companies of inflating US beef prices. So it went from let's buy beef from Argentina to oh shit, do I not know what I'm talking about because Twitter's saying this to yeah, it's the Brazilian meat packer because that's what Tommy Laron said. And that's what Lower Loomer said, and that's what Bobblehead DC Drano said, right? So, but he did publicly come out. So I like beef. So
Me too.
I'm in the, you know, if we can get that price down, that'd be great because it's fucking outrageous.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be paying $45 for a 3 pound chuck roast.
Yeah.
Right.
This is chuck roast. I'm not buying a fucking I'm not
Yeah.
buying a full a prime roll here. Like
Yeah.
whoa. So I'm actually looking into local farmers to go ahead and do the old stand up garage freezer half cow situation. Um, so because just the 90 pounds of ground beef I get with that deal is worth it because pounds of ground beef are $8 fucking dollars.
Yeah.
So I'm like sometime I went to the store with her for the first time in a while this week because I don't know what starving people will do for food.
I feel you.
So I did go to the store with her, and you know, I've been giving her a hard time about what she spends on groceries, but then of course I'm there, so we spent way more than she normally does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know, I like this, and you know, I want it. So, so that's really interesting. So you were talking right before we kicked off. He did some pardons. He hasn't done some pardons in a while.
Yeah.
So now he pardoned the reject out of New York about a month ago. I don't think we ever talked about that. Santos, San
Yeah.
George.
Yeah.
Oh,
We talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. We
Did we
talked
talk
about
about that?
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he pardoned him. Now he pardoned Daniel Strawberry, who just has a tax evasion conviction. So I don't know what happened there. And he pardoned the
It was
Tennessee.
like 30 years ago.
Yeah, so Glenn Casada and Kay Colthran, they were Tennessee House Speaker and assistant,
Yep.
or staffer, one of the two. They were in a kickback scheme. So all of these are symbolic, right? So
Because
strawberry
it's
feeds
shit he
into
would do.
Yeah. Or has done.
Right.
Strawberry feeds into the redemption narrative, right? Um, so you can you can look there for that. You have Casada, you know, scrutiny for political cronyism, right? And you know, Trump using clemency for omission. And on that, Steve Bannon came out this week, or
Yeah.
yesterday, I think, and said we
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
have to win the midterms. And now I'm really worried about 28. And if we lose 28, there's a lot of us going to prison, and I'm one of
Yep.
them. So, and I, you know what? First time I've agreed with you in a long time, sir.
Yeah.
That
That's where
if
he
we
belongs.
overwhelmingly pick up seats in the midterms, and then because he's going to continue to be a fucktard.
Yep.
Then we overwhelmingly pick up seats and the presidency in 28. I do think a lot of you are going to prison this time. So I hope Huey German's first. So, and I hope they lock him up with two brown people.
Hey,
So
you
I want to
actually
sell.
just saw something to where that he's actually done something now to where a U.S. Marshal can walk in there and handcuff him and lock him up. It won't happen because he's sitting president, but there was what was that you pulled up?
Because he's specifically um, ignored an order by
Oh,
a
that federal
federal
judge to
judge.
fund SNAP.
Yep. At this point in time, he could have that judge could have the U.S. Marshals march in there and arrest him.
Fucking
So,
do it. No, don't do it. They'll start a civil war.
right.
So don't want to see that happen, but would be fun at the same time. Not the Civil War part, the Washington be locked up part. The Civil War part could be
Well,
fun. Again, it could be fun, but I'm built different. So I don't want that side of it. I've kept it in a cage
on the
long
way the
enough.
special elections work, it might be might be fun to
So
watch because they might not have as many on their side anymore.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. Um, so we definitely have him granting Hungary an exception from U.S. sanctions on buying Russian oil. And
Yeah,
that's Victor Obrin. And Obrin is kind of like Putin's little, like, it's Putin's Trump, but known. So, like, everybody
yeah.
knows that guy's Putin's Trump, but his country overwhelmingly wants that. So, I kind of understand, that they keep electing him. So that's interesting. And then,
Well, and you're talking about Hungary, right?
yeah,
Orban?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Orban.
Well, and Trump is putting together a nuclear deal with them for nuclear energy as well.
Yeah. So, but we're definitely seeing a bunch of political posturing, I think is what all of this is. And I think it's all a direct reaction to getting shellacked
Oh
on
yeah.
Tuesday night. So he's dumb, but he does understand the election concept that he has figured out. It took him about 12 years, but he's got it down. So really interesting stuff there. So now let's pivot to the old SCOTUS. So the case today, which I did not see a decision yet, if they are going to take up the appeal of Obergefell versus Hodges, which is the 2015 clerk of the courts who refused
Oh,
to certify the gay marriage in Tennessee, and then the Supreme Court over versus Hodges said no, you have to allow them to get married. So I knew
I
this
thought
was
I did see
coming.
that they are taking it up.
Did you? So I knew they
I thought
heard
I
the
saw it earlier.
argument today. I know they heard the argument today of whether they were, but I did not see the outcome on whether they were going to take the case or not.
Maybe that's what it
I
was instead
did,
that they listened
however,
to the
see
argument.
this move coming as soon as Roe was overturned.
I know in the headline that I saw, and it might have been about that they were about to hear the verbal arguments to take it up, was that it was going to be a long shot.
yeah. I've read a couple things saying that it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, they
Um,
only need four, and you have one in Clarence, and
right.
you have two in Dickface.
Yeah.
Um, but I will say that Barrett and Gorsh in the tariff case were resoundingly mollywopped that lead attorney. Like,
Really?
first off, he sounds like RFK. So, like, if him and RFK were in a room trying to have a conversation, I'm pretty sure it would be Charlie Brown, the teacher. Um, but they overwhelmingly were like, even Gore said this is a one-way ratchet to moving all the power into the executive, and how can we allow that?
Yeah.
Like, what's to stop the legislature from saying, yeah, we don't want war powers anymore? So that's a wild reality. So I'm curious about if they picked up Oberfell's appeal. So then they also heard whether nationwide injunctions, right? So that was another one that's gone on this week. Trump versus Casa decided 2025 of June. SCOTUS held that district courts slightly exceeded their authority. This is the procedural win that they
Yeah.
thought was a win-win,
Yeah.
Right.
but it was a procedural win, and now they're deciding that. So the decision tightens federal court's equitable powers and gives more leeway to executive action. Um, so This definitely is going to stand. They're going to hear the whole case. They even in the argument, it's going to stand. But so the Democrats have already pivoted. So now you just challenge the case in each district because each district can injunct for their district.
Mhm.
So now you just challenge the case in each district. And then 90% of the cases on the shadow docket, which is shadow docket's what they hear unofficially.
Right.
Mhm.
So procedurals and things of that nature. So 90% of that has happened. So really, really, really interesting there. I'm really looking for Obergefell, right? So let's see what happens in that scenario. So I want to see. They have not officially agreed to hear an appeal to overturn. So they did not come to a decision today. So we won't know till
Yeah.
Monday at the earliest. They met in private conference today, but no decision publicly. So this one will be really interesting because if they go here, then we could go as far back to civil rights because
Yeah.
that's the next one that's
Right.
supposed to be states' power.
Yeah.
So this is like a SCOTUS version of the Civil War
Yeah.
segregation.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
it's basically them trying to pivot Jim Crow law.
Yeah.
well,
You know.
yeah, because now we Civil War because states' rights.
Right.
Now don't ask them the states' rights to do what because they get all flustered.
Yeah.
Because it was about states' rights. It wasn't about slavery. So still trying to figure out what the states were wanting to do that we weren't letting them do, that they
Uh-huh.
had the right to do. So they don't like that question when they bring up the states' rights. It was about state rights, not slavery. The states' right to do what?
Hmm.
So they don't want to answer that one. Oh, you need to have slaves? Imagine that. So that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the other overwhelming notion this week, so California rallied behind Newsom and New York rallied behind Zohan and AOC and Bernie. And there was a lot of loud, like both, I do believe, I'm pretty sure both female governors, they served in the Senate together and were
Hmm.
roommates. But I know one has a military background.
Actually, I think both of them do. I think
I
one
think
was
they
in the
do, and they
military and
also,
the other one was in the CIA.
Yep.
yeah. So they do both have background, and like they're pretty powerful, intelligent women,
Yeah.
for sure. So I think that's super exciting, right? And I think
Yep.
I think that overwhelmingly, what the Democratic Party, the voters are screaming is, "We want you to fight."
Well, and we want quality candidates. I think that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that we see a lot of really quality candidates that have come forth. So that's exciting to me because that was one of the problems that we've been having for the past decade is we've had shit for candidates, you know, but it's this fresh new group that is catching momentum, and so AOC has to go through the steps in order to be able to become a valid candidate for president, things like that. So, um, it's just unfortunate that guys like Cory Booker and them, haven't been able to quite get the momentum going enough where they were dangerous candidates against Trump this last go, you
I
know.
think because they weren't fighting, right? Like I think there's an outward they were, but in the old.
Yeah, yeah.
So where the modern Democratic voters like, well, they play dirty.
Right.
Like I think it probably sucks to be in the position of the Democrats right now in the Senate because
Yeah.
they want to feed the hungry people
Right.
and they want to pay the people, but they don't want to do it at the price of health care for people.
Right.
Right.
So they did offer today to Thune. All you have to add is extending the subsidies 1 year,
One
and
year.
we'll
Yeah.
vote yes. 1 year, and then we can talk about it, but we'll vote yes.
Right.
So all you
Which,
have to, so it's
And they already
down
turned
to
it down.
healthcare.
which subsidies though? Are you talking the
The
Obama subsidies,
the
or are you
ACA.
talking
Yeah, the
the COVID subsidies? Because if
no,
it's
it's the
COVID
ACA.
subsidies, we're 5 years past that. They need to get off that.
No, it's the ACA subsidy, so the premiums for healthcare don't go from
Yep.
600 to 2,600.
Yeah,
Yep.
but there's COVID subsidies wrapped into that.
Yeah, they are, but there's minimal, and they're he just wants the ACA subsidies, and I think that that's the right thing to talk about, right? It's they don't want the premiums to shoot up. They're trying to defend people, and they did already turn it down, but that's all we're asking for is that one thing. All
Right.
this other stuff that we don't want to fund, we're going to fund.
The premiums are
Um,
already going to shoot up because they've already got the quotes out for the new plans.
right, but as soon as the subsidies roll back in, they'll have to give people their money
Right.
back. Does that
Then
make sense?
come
So,
back down. Yeah.
Yeah, but if
yeah,
you're already enrolled, because you have to enroll by a certain date, if you're already enrolled, you're locked into that price.
yeah, but then they pay it for you. So it'd be like a 2-1 buy
Yeah,
down.
you're locked. You accept that higher price anyways. It's just that it has the subsidy added into it. So if they retroact it in, then it would just come in and it would say, here's which.
Like they would adjust your
Right.
amount that you have to pay per month.
Right.
Yeah, because I know somebody right now that this year they were paying for the silver plan, so the second best plan you can get. They were paying like just under $70 a month, and next year it goes up to all like 264. So more than four times.
Yeah.
100%, right? So,
Like, and at that point you can't afford it, so you don't have insurance.
Right.
100%. It's an interesting. We're in a really interesting paradigm, but I think the Democrats are doing the right thing. Now they're going to make it about a singular issue, a loud singular issue. And the Republicans are shooting themselves now because the people who are most hurt by the healthcare premiums going up are the
Are there
same people
people?
who are most hurt by the SNAP benefits,
Blue collar workers. Yeah.
right, which I fully explained here that yes, the urban cities get more for their one family of seven, but that's 11 rural white
One.
families that
Mhm.
also are losing their subsidies and can no longer feed their kids. And the elections are showing you that outright that these rural blue collar communities and counties, you're losing 15-20% margin.
Mhm.
It's a crazy amount of margin to be losing. And you didn't have a ton less voter turnout in those counties. Like, yes, in some of the bigger counties, Republican turnout was suppressed. However, some of these rural counties, you're a couple hundred voters different, and
Mhm.
you're losing 20 points. So a whole bunch of like 20-year-old liberal white women moved in the last year and a half. Like, I don't think that's what
Well, I think
happened.
that's a huge indicator because other than general elections, overall voter turnout for specials or midterms are usually pretty low in comparison to the
Well,
general.
yeah. And
I
so
mean,
you're
this could be a
fighting.
really good sign for the good guys come next year.
Yeah,
You,
well,
yeah.
and in off voting years, it tends to favor the Republicans because
Hmm.
they have more people that are,
Right.
diehard voters.
Yeah, but
So,
I think this is a clear sign that if you're actively fighting against
right,
fascism, it might change things a little bit.
Yeah.
So that Americans aren't for this.
right,
Right.
Like I have long since, and I will beg for, and I continue to preach that I want the Republican Democrat disagreement argument ideological. We're not out here hurting people.
uh-huh,
Like, we're like some bobblehead was like 42 million people are on Snap and we shouldn't be funding it. And I was like 40% of those 42 million are children under 15.
Right.
uh-huh,
And a bunch of them were like, well, then what about the parents? And I'm like, yeah, so they have trash parents, right? That's their fault. So they should
right,
starve. So
Right.
you have trash parents, therefore you should starve.
Yeah.
And
And the
then
disgusting
some,
move is now he's asking the Supreme Court to step in to not fund it.
right? Well, then
Like, so
he,
you're actively trying not to feed these people.
right? Now then that bobblehead pops back with, well, then where do you stand on abortion? What- how did we get here?
Cool, good.
Well, because I'm
Because as
willing to,
much
so
pro-life as they are,
they're
they want to
assuming
be.
liberals aren't willing to say that the parents of people who there are people who abuse the system and have a bunch
Sure.
of kids and don't plan on taking care of them. It does exist. The stereotype
Yes.
exists. It's out there, right? We've all seen it. I don't think it's anywhere near the majority. I don't even think it's actually a recognizable minority. Like I
Mhm.
think it's the 2.5, 3% that they're going to flex, right?
Yep.
But so sure, it exists, and I think they're just like, well, a liberal won't say they're bad people. Well, why do you think that? Why do you? Because they are. And so, like, why would I not say that? But then now you think because I'll say that, that I'm suddenly going to be against abortion. How
Mhm.
does, like, how do your brains work? Like,
Yeah.
because
Well,
I was like,
here's an example of that. Since you bring that up, is I saw this guy that I follow. He's 1,000% he's combat vet Marine, completely against Trump. He got into this conversation with this guy that was MAGA,
a
and
crayon eater
he,
against Trump.
yeah, and he's in southern Indiana too. I send you clips, Gunny. Uh, he was asking this guy. He was like, "So you're against abortion?" And the guy's like, "Yes." And he goes, "But you're pro death penalty?" Yes. He goes, "How does that work?
Mhm.
You can't be that. You can't be pro life and pro death sentence at the same time. It's contradicting."
Facts.
That's how their brain
Facts.
works. Makes zero sense.
Right. So I'm anti-death penalty because it doesn't work.
Right.
It's not the now there are cases where I'm actually pro death penalty. I'm just going to be real, but I think it should be a public execution on PBS
Agreed.
on Saturday night at 6 o'clock when everybody can watch it together. So I'm a little bit on that train, but that's for very specific things.
I think
Um,
well, maybe not
but on the
everybody
flip
because
side of
they've
the
got this.
coin, because I'm about choice, right? So when that guy did ask, well, where do you stand on abortion? He didn't like when I was like, well, I stand with biology and viability.
Mhm.
So like,
Well, and they're so
it's
pro-life, but they're clearly uh, showing you that they don't give a shit about what happens to that child after it's born.
well, no, for sure. That's kind of my point. Like, how do we blame that? So 40%, that's almost half, are children under 15. I guarantee another 10, 12% are the 15 to 18 range children.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Right. So, but children under 15 are 40% of that 42 million,
Oh
and
yeah.
you don't want to feed them? Like
Yeah.
that's a wild fucking reality. But
Well, and the staggering statistic of how many of them are full-time workers that receive those benefits, you
they
know?
hate when you bring that part up.
Yeah.
That they do, well, but those are the rural white families that are
Mhm.
poor as shit. They work
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they can't afford it.
Yeah, but they
So,
try to portray it as everybody's just lazy and mooching,
Yeah.
because
well,
that's
no, they
the
try to
narrative
portray
push.
it. They try to portray it racially.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It's always they always say that we're the ones who make it about race, but you're the ones who do it because of race.
Yep.
Correct.
So, like, does Trump really not want to feed the poor white people? And maybe he won't because he's a fucking
Yeah,
nepo baby.
he won't feed them. He won't work
So
it.
yeah, because he's a nepo baby.
Hmm.
So, but then the last thing I'm going to bring up, it was I don't know a ton about it, but I saw it and I know it's true because the source was verified. So I'm just trying to figure out when Lockheed Martin decided they were going to build ballrooms. So, so Lockheed Martin is going to build the ballroom, and
Well, is it build? I think that aren't they the ones that are funding?
funding
Yeah.
and building.
Oh,
So
really?
their contractors will be building. So it's still going to be construction workers, but
Right.
so, and then 3 days after that, they get the biggest military contract in history.
No
Yeah.
coincidence.
It's weird how that happens. It's really, really weird how that happens. Like in the big world, giving the customer a drink for free actually works.
Yeah.
But in the restaurant world, it doesn't.
True.
So you give the customer a free drink, they don't give you a bigger tip.
Yeah.
But if you give the customer a free drink in the big world, they'll build you a ballroom. It's a wild fucking reality because, like, sure, why wouldn't they spend whatever 500 million it'll end up costing
Yeah.
to build the ballroom? Because the contract's worth almost 300 billion dollars.
Right.
So, and that's the other thing. There's only a few companies who could even get that contract in the first place because not very many companies do that because we do regulate the shit out of that. Which is
Hmm.
why when you're willing to sell our nuclear subs, it's a problem because we regulate not doing that for a reason.
Yeah, we keep
Propri-
those plans secret for a
yeah,
reason.
proprietary technology is a thing. But yeah, so Lockheed Martin is going to build a fucking ball. So rockets and ballrooms, that's what your specialty is now.
I heard there was someone in Congress that filed a suit to stop that because he didn't. You're supposed to go get congressional approval on any major changes to the White House.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. You're also
So I wonder
supposed to
what'll happen
fund.
with that.
You're also
Probably
supposed to
nothing,
fund
but
Snap. So
yeah,
Trump is the king of not doing what you're supposed to do. That's what Trump is. But
true.
no, really interesting week. A good week for Democrats. First one we've had since the election for sure.
Yeah, we just need to keep that
Uh,
momentum for
well,
at
no,
least, you know.
I think this was that's what I loved about it the most is I my eyes and my ears and my brain was telling me that a shift had already happened.
Yeah.
And this overwhelmingly confirmed it that the middle is not okay with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we voted for him because fuck the establishment. And now he's 10 times worse than we ever fucking
Yeah, we just have to make sure that we don't assume come midterms that it happens
no.
again and make sure that it happens again.
No,
Yeah.
you have to run. That's what
Yeah.
all of these campaigns all had a very specific certain
Yeah,
thing
they
in
got to keep
common
the
with one
energy.
another. You have to follow the blueprints.
Yeah.
The blueprints are there. You need to engage the youth vote, and the youth vote is not going to be engaged by much more than I want to own a house one
Right.
day. So because look, I'm in my mid 40s. I got my first house. My dad got his first house when he was 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His dad got his first house probably when he was 15 because it was a different world, right?
Yeah.
And wages and prices of things were like this, not like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, where you can't even see the price of things because it's off the screen and the
Well,
wages
yeah, I
ledger.
mean, just perfect example. I was having a conversation with someone this morning are unless you're making six figures or you're making 75 plus and living in a very affordable area, the idea in the past of the woman stays home and takes care of the home and raises the family and the man cooks on one salary homes doesn't exist anymore unless
Bro,
you're
I'm gonna
very
be, bro, I'm gonna be real with you. If unless your cars are paid off, that six figures has to start with a two if you plan on doing
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
so if your cars are paid off, you could do it with a six figure that starts with a one. This is in we're in Indiana.
right.
Like
Not
you
on the
probably have
coast
to
either,
start
you
with
know.
a
Yeah.
six in California.
Right.
So, but if you want to do this in Indiana, if you want to do that, it's got to start with a two, bro. Or your
Yeah.
cars have to be paid off, or you have zero other debt, or
Right.
so, but no, really interesting week. I'm interested for next week because I want to see what recoil this week has. Because in
Sure.
3 days, there's been shitloads of recoil already.
Right.
So, like I said, Bannon even coming out saying I'm going to jail. So, but yeah, so Donald, if you happen to watch this podcast, you should definitely turn it on up, dude. So that's what you should totally name your name today. And then my very, very last. So they're saying they're gonna subpoena Jack Smith, and that's why I said Jack Smith part, dude. Jack Smith has openly come out. Please do.
Yep.
So a friend on Facebook put, he said he's going to do this, and then his hater, which is actually, he's been whatever. We have a mutual understanding now. His hater was like, "Well, why hasn't he already?" And the other one was like, "Yeah, I don't know." And I was like, "Well, here, I can tell you why." Because the DOJ wouldn't allow,
Mhm.
because they have rules against it, and because some of it was grand jury and it's secret. That's a thing. So that doesn't allow. And then there's the other portion which it's classified. Well, the thing is if they subpoena him and put him under oath, the first two become fair game.
Yep.
Yep.
He still can't release the classified information. But the other two become fair game because he's under oath and he's required by law to answer honestly. And he wants to. So please put this motherfucker on the stand because he desperately wants to tell you how he knows for a fact that this man is a Russian agent.
Yep.
So Jack Smith part two, I am here for it. I want to see it. So he's been known to be the fairest legal man's ever. So I would really like to see that. So hopefully they fuck around and find out because it's Jim. I like to know about little boys getting touched and do nothing Jones,
Yep.
who wants to subpoena him. So him and Pee Wee German. Hopefully they get a cell together with Brown with two Brown guys. If Pee Wee German goes to prison, I need his cellmates to be Juan and Jose. So I need it to happen. So, because they're gonna wash his bald little head real nice. But until then, next week, Bluebird on your shoulder.
Thanks a lot.